guys, welcome to Legal Alien Racing. I'm out here at Dallas Karting Complex, and today's video is for you guys that are looking to buy your very first kart. I was there a couple of years ago, and I remember going through that process and not knowing anything about karting. I found it a little bit difficult to get the information that I needed on the different options that were out there for me, as far as which kart was the right one for me. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through all of the adult kart classes from the LO206 all the way up to the shifter, talk a little bit about each one, and hopefully give you some information that you can use to figure out which kart is going to be right for you. There's a couple of things you want to consider when buying your first kart. Number one is, what's your ultimate goal? Do you just want to run laps by yourself at your local track, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that, or are you trying to compete nationally and be competitive? That's something you're going to want to think about before buying your first kart. The faster you go, the more it's going to cost. So you have to have a budget in mind. The two biggest costs are going to be fuel and tires. So just keep that in mind when choosing your kart class. You're also going to want to have a budget for parts. Eventually you're going to damage the kart and you're going to need replacement parts. One good piece of advice that I was given after talking to people that have been karting for many years, they all pretty much all say the same thing. There's not one brand of kart that is just clearly faster than the others. If you look at the pro guys, they all drive different brands of karts. So don't get so hung up on which brand you're buying. What's going to be more important is which brand of kart and which class does your local kart shop or your local club support. Because like I said, eventually you're going to damage the kart and you're going to need replacement parts, or you're going to need to work on the kart. And if you can't go to the kart shop and get parts for your kart, then your kart's just going to be sitting there damaged and you're not going to be able to drive it. Also, if your goal is to race the kart, just make sure that whatever class you select, that you can find a race at your local track for that class, because you're going to be really frustrated when you practice and you're ready to go, then you want to get in a race and you find out that there are no races in your area. So keep those things in mind when choosing your first kart. All right, let's take a look at the different karts. All right, this is an LO206. LO stands for local option. 206, I don't really know what that stands for. Your guess is as good as mine. The engine is Briggs & Stratton. It's a single-speed 4-stroke engine. It makes between 8 and 9 horsepower. It's a pull start on this engine. It's got rear brakes only, so the brakes are only in the back. There are none in the front. The top speed for this kart, and this is here at Dallas Karting Complex, and all those speeds I'm going to be talking about pertain here to Dallas Karting Complex. Here, this kart runs in the mid-50s. Brand new, this kart's around $4,500 bucks, maybe a little bit more, just kind of depends on the chassis. Used, you can probably get one for around 2,000 bucks. As far as some of the other points on this kart, it's extremely maintenance friendly. So if you're not mechanically inclined, this kart's not going to present a big challenge for you in that area. This engine is sealed by Briggs & Stratton, so you can't mess with it. It's got these locks. It's got one back here, and it's got one up front. If you break these locks for any reason, you will not be allowed to race in this class. Briggs & Stratton seals them, so you can't tamper with the internals of the engine. This class is designed to make all the karts fairly equal. So driver skill is going to be a big factor in this class. This is a great intro kart for a beginner. And that's what I was. This is my first kart. This is actually my kart. It's not going to have that wow factor in regards to acceleration compared to some of the other karts I'll talk about, but it corners well and allows you to carry a lot of speed into the corner. One big advantage of this kart, it uses pump gas. I mean, the same pump gas you put in your regular car. So fuel is extremely, extremely cheap. My first year of running this, I was brand new in karting, really excited about getting into the sport. So I came out here and practiced a lot. And I ran a lot of club races here at Dallas Karting Complex. That being said, I tracked all my costs and spending on this kart. I spent for the year, in fuel for the year, including practice and everything, I spent about 60 bucks. So that's pretty inexpensive. And I bought 3 sets of tires, of brand new tires for this kart for the entire year. I did get a free set of used tires that someone was getting rid of, but still had a little bit of life for the 206. So I was able to use those, but for the year, I only bought 3 sets of tires, which is actually really good in regards to tire wear. when I first got this cart, I didn't have, I got an aftermarket motor mount, or I got a motor mount for the cart, which you can see here, and here. See if I can get a good shot of it. And this is it down here, this black part. That helped with the chain popping off, because I had a big problem with the chain coming off a lot. So I spent about $200 on this motor mount, and that pretty much solved that problem. The biggest thing I do as far as changing on this cart is just normal stuff like changing the fuel lines, you know, and of course just changing the sprockets and the chain once the chain got kind of worn and the sprockets got worn. So running this cart overall is not very much, and it's not going to challenge you mechanically very much. This is a very good entry-level cart to get into. There's not a whole lot to the cart. This is a really popular class, and it's pretty easy to find a race for this class. So this is the Briggs & Stratton LO206 class. This is a 100cc cart. This class is called KA100 or VLR100. It's a single-speed two-stroke engine. The engine makers are Iami, Vortex, or Yamaha. The horsepower is going to be in the 20s. This is an electric start cart with a self-charging battery. The motor produces an electrical current that recharges the battery. This cart has rear brakes only. The top speed here at Dallas Karting Complex is going to be in the low 60s. This cart brand new is going to cost you about $5,500. Overall, this cart is pretty maintenance friendly. The tires are going to last a lot longer than some of the faster carts we're going to talk about, given that they don't go as fast. This cart doesn't go as fast as those. The fuel type is going to be the same as the shifter cart, the DD2, some of the other carts we're going to talk about. This cart does have a sprocket and a chain, so that's going to be an expense for you. The engine does have to be serviced. Both the top and the bottom end of the engine have to be serviced after a while. This is air cooled, so there's no water pump or radiator, which is something less that can break or something less you have to buy. The learning curve on this cart is going to be a lot smaller than the faster carts we're going to talk about, but the acceleration on this cart is actually really good, and it's going to give you that little bit of that wow factor that you may be looking for as far as acceleration goes. The price point for what you're getting is also really good. This is a great first cart for a new carter, just like the 206 is. This is a different option for you as well. This is a 125cc single-speed two-stroke cart. The classes on this cart are called X30, Rock, GP, or Rotax FR. This class is commonly referred to as the TAG class, which stands for Touch and Go. The engine makers are Iami, Rotax, and Rock. This engine produces close to 30 horsepower, and it is an electric start engine like the 100cc cart that has a self-charging battery. The speeds for this cart are going to be, here at Dallas Karting Complex, probably in the low 70s down the straightaway. A cart like this brand new is going to run you about $7 grand, used probably around $4 grand. As far as maintenance goes, you're going to go through more fuel and tires in this cart than the first two carts we talked about, given that this is just a faster cart. The fuel is the same as, you know, the shifter DD2. This cart does have a chain and a sprocket, so that's going to be an expense for you. And this only has brakes in the rear as well. This is also a water-cooled engine, so there's going to be a radiator and a water pump associated with this cart. This cart's more of an intermediate cart versus a beginner cart. Now, a beginner can get into this cart and get going. It's just going to take a little longer to get up to speed than some of the first two carts that we talked about. This is a really popular class to race in, so it's really easy to find a race either locally or nationally. There's a high number of participants, and it's a very competitive class. This is a 125cc DD2. DD2 stands for direct drive 2-speed. It does have 2 gears located on the steering wheel. This is a 2-stroke engine. The engine maker is Rotax, and it produces around 35 horsepower. And you can see the shifter paddles there on the steering wheel. This is an electric start kart. So the thing with this one though, the battery doesn't self-charge, so you're gonna have to recharge the battery yourself. The top speed on a kart like this, here at DKC's in the high 70s. This does have rear brakes, but it also does have front brakes. So the braking is gonna be a lot better than some of the other karts that we've talked about earlier. Brand new, this kart's gonna run you probably around 10 grand. Used, you can probably find one for about 5 grand. The thing with this kart, it's actually very maintenance friendly. There is no chain, there is no sprocket. The water pump is internal, so that's one less thing that you have to mess with. The engine also can last a little longer before it requires service compared to some of the other karts. Now, given that this thing goes a lot faster than the other ones, you're going to run through tires and fuel a lot faster than you will with the other ones. And we talked about earlier, we talked about the faster you go, the more it costs. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck here on this kart in regards to how fast you're going compared to the relative cost to keep the kart maintained. So it's really good value. This kart's almost as fast as a shifter kart. This is a 125cc 6-speed shifter kart. It's a 2-stroke. The engine makers are Honda, Miami, and Rock. The horsepower is going to be in the 40s. This is a push start kart, so in order to start it, you either have to have somebody push you and you put it in gear and it'll get started, or you have to push it yourself, jump in and put it in gear. The kart has both front and rear brakes, so the braking power on this kart is really good. Top speed on this kart here at Dallas Karting Complex is going to be in the 80s. This kart brand new will run you around 12 grand. You can get a good used one for 6 or 7 grand. Now this is on the high end of karting, so you know this thing is really high performance, and that being said, it loves to drink gas and go through tires, and of course you'll go through brake pads as well. I've had this kart, this is my kart right here, I've had this kart a little over a month, and I've already spent over $300 in fuel. The fuel cans come in 5-gallon cans, and with the oil mixture, each 5-gallon can's about $100 roughly. So you're talking about the 206 that I had, I've spent, you know, something like $60 for the whole year. Well, I've already spent $300 on this one in just fuel in a little over a month. Now tires, average person is going to go through tires probably once a month. But man, this thing flies. If you're looking to go fast, and I mean this is your kart. That being said, probably not a good idea for this to be your very first kart if you have zero karting experience or zero racing experience of any kind. It's going to take you a while to be able to drive this kart, you know, up to speed, and especially if you want to race, it's going to take you a while to be able to sustain that speed for the duration of a race, which is, you know, it can be 15 to 20 minutes long. Now I've seen people jump into a shifter and as their very first kart, or you know, shortly after getting their karting they bought a shifter, and they did okay and got up to speed and they're doing fine. It's just they weren't racing it. They were going at their own speed, and after several months of coming out here and practicing a lot, you know, they've learned how to drive this car and they're doing pretty well. Also, maintenance wise, if you don't know anything about, you know, maintaining a kart or have no mechanical inclination, it's probably not a good idea to get this kart. You're going to have to have the support of a local kart shop or someone in your area that knows how to work on these things that can help you out. So this is a 125cc shifter kart. There's a couple of other fees you need to be aware of once you buy a kart. Number one is going to be track fees or track membership fees. Another thing you're going to want to consider, if you don't have a truck or a trailer, or storage fees at the local track. Dallas Karting Complex has a facility here that stores the karts, and so they're always here. I leave the cart here. It's really convenient for those customers that don't have a way to transport the cart to and from their house. A couple of other things you're going to need are a helmet, you're going to need racing gloves, you're going to need a racing suit, you may need rib protectors depending on what you get. It's kind of personal preference. Your Karting shoes are also, I've seen guys, you know, race in sneakers, so karting shoes, you may or you may not need them. It's kind of up to you. Don't get so hung up on the price of the gloves and the suit and get the most expensive stuff. There's some really high-end suits out there, and there's some lower-end stuff. You don't need the best, most expensive stuff out there if you're just getting started in karting. You're gonna also need a tire gauge, basic set of tools, wrenches, sockets, Allen wrenches, things like chain lube, cleaning supplies, shop towels, zip ties, little things like that you're also going to need to buy once you get your own cart. All right, I hope that information was useful to you, and I hope it helps you when you're trying to figure out which cart is right for you. Another thing is go to your local track and talk to the karters out there. Pick their brains, see what they have to say about it. They're going to help you try to figure out what cart class, which cart is best for you. So I would definitely recommend going to your local kart track and talking to other karters. If you like the video, do me a favor, hit that like button, and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.